welcome to Grandma's Garden. We're back again for another show. I'm Evelyn, and this is Kathy. She is the co-host of the show. Today's program is going to be about vegetable gardening. I'm not much of a vegetable garden. I'm not allowed to grow vegetables where I live, so I have very few, if any, in my garden. But Kathy is very knowledgeable on this subject. And what we want to start off with now is what's in bloom, what's in season, what are you going to find in your garden, what is going to be gotten at your farmer's market. The very first picture you're looking at is cucumbers. Cucumbers are coming in right now, and I will let Kathy talk about the cucumbers.
I have so many cucumbers, I'm giving them away.
Thank you, thank you,
Yes,
thank you.
Evelyn has benefited, as has my neighbors. Now, one thing you may see with cucumbers is these
Hold it in front of your shirt.
Okay.
The green, yeah.
Oh, okay. Funny little guys, odd shape, nice fat end, sort of skinny end. This has to do with the weather and the amount of watering. You go away, you go up north for the weekend and you don't arrange for anybody to water your crops. You could end up with some of these. It can also happen with eggplant.
It's not onion. Okay. What you're seeing on your screen right now are green beans. Green beans are in season now.
Those are cucumbers.
Cucumbers, I'm sorry. Those are cucumbers. You can see that they are forming a nice long cylindrical formation. They're not misshapen. Kathy's doing an excellent job of watering them. That is very important.
More important if you grow your vegetables in containers. If you grow tomatoes in a container, which a lot of folks do, that may be the only thing they have, you can get what's called blossom end rot, right, where you have this lovely tomato, you pick it, and on the bottom, it's this nice yucky rotten spot.
Right.
What else we might be finding in the garden right now, it being high summer, this is everything. This is prime time.
This is eating your veggies time.
This is
Yum.
when you are the locavore. You eat what's fresh and local in your neighborhood.
Locavore, that's a new word to me.
Oh,
I like it. I like it.
Herbs are good. Potatoes are coming in.
Ooh, yum.
I don't grow potatoes. I have grown them in containers.
New potatoes with butter and parsley. Ooh.
So all of these things you can get, of course, at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
We need to make a trip over to the Pontiac market.
Oh, yes, yes.
Everything and anything, flowers and all. About the only thing that's not quite ready yet is the winter squash. You might be seeing a few acorn, a few butternut hitting the market, but
it's early.
It's early.
It's early.
Those, the winter squash, pumpkin type of things are much better after we have a frost.
Okay. Let's talk about eggplant.
One of my favorites, absolute favorites. You can grow a lot of different kinds of eggplant. That one happens to be an old Italian heirloom called Rosa Bianca.
Isn't it beautiful?
Lovely, lovely. And when they get big, they're kind of lavendery. They shade from white up under the leaves down into lavender. Now this is another one here. This is more your traditional Black Beauty eggplant, what you would see in the grocery store. Then they have the little fingers, which are tiny eggplants.
Yeah.
Some of these that are called Japanese long. One of the things you want to be sure that you get fresh eggplant when you buy eggplant. If it's kind of soft and squishy,
you don't want it.
You don't want it.
Yeah.
It should be
squishable.
Well, that's
right
been
there.
picked a couple days.
Yeah.
They should be nice and firm. They almost feel like a fresh apple. When you go to squeeze it, it should be good and firm. When you cook your eggplant, there's always the shall you salt it, shall you not?
I don't bother salting it. My eggplant comes out beautiful. I slice it and cook it down in a saute pan, and then I add it to anything else that I'm eating. Or in the fall, I may roast them.
Yep.
I love
roasted eggplants.
Roasted eggplant's wonderful. You like my purple on purple?
Yeah, purple's good, Ev.
I love purple. You'll find a lot of purple in my garden. These are delicious.
Eggplant also has a really pretty little flower that's
Yes,
about
yes.
the color of Ev's jacket there.
Right. There's the
star
blossom.
shape. There's the blossom. There's the eggplant flower.
Isn't it gorgeous?
You can kind of tuck those in amongst your flowers. I would be the bane of the garden police if I lived in Evelyn's complex, because I'd have to be tucking all these little things in. As it is, I have very tolerant neighbors.
Right.
I have asparagus in my front yard.
Oh.
I have this nice little bed that's dug out and lined with landscape timbers. I have alpine strawberries along the edge. I have some asparagus plants. I have dill.
There is part of her container garden in her driveway. When you run out of soil, when you run out of land, that doesn't mean that you can't have your vegetable garden. If you can dedicate a space for the containers, there's no end to what you can grow. She even grew corn on the cob last year. It was in the back of her garden. It really looked pretty. I don't think we ate any corn from it.
No, it wasn't grown to eat. It was more for a tall ornamental to hide some of the
Never would
less
have thought.
attractive things that my neighbor stores at his yard.
I would never have thought to do that, and I wish I would have thought to do it. Oh no, garden police would be after
Garden
me.
police would be at your house.
Okay.
For me, the garden on the driveway is because that's the only place I have enough sun.
Yeah.
I have an older house with great big trees, so that's the good place for that. Oh, and now we got to move on to tomatoes.
Yes, yum yum.
Yum, yum. We wait and wait and wait for the tomatoes. What is most successful in my garden is these cherry tomatoes. And they come in all different colors. I got yellow.
Those are good. Yellow ones are
Yellow ones are
good
good. We've got
tasting.
orange ones. We've got round red ones. We've got grape red ones that are kind of oval. We have these chocolate cherry that have sort of a
Those are good
smoky,
too. Yes,
smoky
those are
flavor.
good.
We have this is an old-fashioned version, this yellow pear tomato. These babies aren't quite ripe yet because I grew the plants from seed. They're called sweet pea. And actually that's about the size that the tomatoes are. They're bright
Wow.
red and they're a wonderful little burst of tomatoey flavor.
I wonder if I could hide that.
Well, you probably could. The basil, a little bit wilty because I picked it right before we came over, but the basil is a wonderful thing to plant in with your tomatoes, and I think you have basil tucked in and around your garden in a few spots.
Love the smell of this stuff.
It's really nice in a container garden, even if you don't have any vegetables. It's got, and there's so many different kinds. There's
Yes.
the little leaf bush basil, the Genovese, which is the big leaf basil for pesto, Thai basil, lime basil, cinnamon basil.
I didn't get lime basil this year. I forgot about it. I love lime basil. How could I forget it?
Lime basil is a wonderful addition to Mexican food. Cilantro doesn't seem to do terribly well in our climate. It comes up and it's really nice in the spring, and bang, you're just about planning to use it and it's gone to seed.
Really?
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people complain about that.
It just never dawned on me to look for my lime basil. I'm sort of mentally kicking myself at this point, and it's a little late. Okay.
It didn't come out until really late. I only have a couple plants of it.
Okay.
Oh no, lost my. Heirloom tomatoes. To plant heirlooms or not? What a question.
Yeah. The bang for the buck question comes up.
If you have a large garden and you can afford the space, by all means grow heirloom. They have wonderful, wonderful flavor. But as Ev said, bang for the buck isn't there. You're lucky if you get 4 tomatoes. I do have one that I like that's called Old German, that the flavor's good enough that if I only get 3 tomatoes, oh well. But mostly what I like are the older versions.
Yes. Yeah.
say-
Now you're not talking
I'm not talking heirlooms.
heirloom.
I'm
You're talking older version.
older versions. 70s, 80s varieties.
Something girl.
Early girl.
Early girl. Yeah.
Early girl. Early girl is one of the first ones that's gonna get ripe for you, other than the cherries.
And they produce well too.
Produce well. You get a lot of them. Nice flavor.
And they're not too watery.
No, and sometimes they come along and give you a nice second
Yeah.
crop. You pick them all. You think, oh, okay, they're done. On to something else. One of the things about the tomatoes that were grown in the 70s and 80s is they were hybridized, cross-pollinated. Well, this is not always a bad thing because they're disease resistant.
Oh, okay.
A problem, and as we're going to talk a little bit about tomato blight because it has been a problem in Michigan the last couple years. The older varieties are less susceptible, and now we have some new varieties.
Such as?
Such as, oh, let me see. Juliet is one. I don't care too much for that one.
I don't know Juliet.
I've tried some of the newer ones, and to me, they're kind of like supermarket tomatoes.
Oh,
they, you know, they're all the same size. They're all nice and round. They're all red, and they all kind of
they don't taste like much of anything.
Don't taste like much of anything.
Yeah.
They all get ripe at once. They do keep pretty well.
Yep. They're
kind of like those Twinkies that sit on your counter for 5 years and
or 500.
It's still okay. And this, of course, is a matter of taste.
Yes.
It's all. And talking about taste and tomatoes, in wine growing, there is something that is called terroir.
Yes.
Which means the wine develops the flavor based on the soil, the earth that it's grown in. This happens with tomatoes. Varieties that I grew when I lived in Cleveland that are more, where the soil is more acidic, do not taste the same as the more neutral soil in Michigan. So you have to try, you know, if you're growing tomatoes, try different ones. There are certainly plenty of them out there. If what you grew this year doesn't quite meet your expectations, there's plenty of other ones that you can try.
I wish I could grow them. I wish I could have them in my garden. Show them what you've made with your tomatoes.
Oh, okay. If your harvest is very, very bountiful, or you want to go to the farmer's market. Last year I had an awful lot of tomatoes, so I just canned some. Really easy. If you've not ever done any canning before, you want to pick up a copy of the Ball Blue Book.
Yeah.
Because
definitely.
You want to be.
That is our Bible.
That's our Bible.
Our canning Bible.
It comes out new at least every other year.
Oh, okay.
Only because safety requirements change. We're old enough, we remember when they used to pour wax on top of jam to seal it.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
I remember
that
when
wax. Jam.
They used to do what was called hot pack for tomatoes. You just heated them up, put them in, screwed the lid on, and hoped that it sealed.
Yep, and they did.
And they did.
And they did.
Not, I don't know anybody that died, but
no, we all lived.
But you still want to be careful.
Yeah.
Back in.
And one other thing, I'll go very quickly here, and we'll come back in a minute. One of the things that all of the years that I've canned, and there've been a few, whoever I was canning with always picked the hottest, most humid day of the month of August, and we would be sweating buckets as we're peeling and boiling these big kettles. It doesn't have to be that way. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
As the summer begins to wind down, enjoy the transition into fall by loading up the family and taking a trip to Friendship Park for Barn Days on Saturday, September 13th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. There will be plenty of activities for the whole family, including a petting farm, carnival games, inflatables, farm fresh produce, and a wagon ride. But be forewarned, you may encounter some Yankees and rebels who don't know the Civil War is over. The cost is $5 per vehicle, and proceeds help fund Orient Township's concerts and other events throughout the year. For more information, you can call 248-391-0304, extension 305, or visit orienttownship.org.
And welcome back to Grandma's Garden. We're going to continue on talking about the vegetables. One of the things I want to talk to you about is companion planting. there are plants that you can put in containers together that provide protection for each other. Basil in with your eggplant. It seems the insects and the bugs aren't real happy to be together. There on your screen you have a picture of an eggplant with the basil down at the bottom. That is companion planting. In the olden days, they used to do something called the Three Sisters,
Right.
Where corn and beans and
squash.
Because the combination of them fertilized the soil, protected each other, and grew well together. And there are companion plantings that we do these days. If you're interested in companion planting, further knowledge of that, you'll have to let us know, and we'll get back to you, or we'll do more on our show about it. We want to talk about rhubarb, or I want to talk about rhubarb. I happen to love rhubarb, and there it is. And it's something, again, I am not allowed to grow vegetables in my garden. Woe is me. But my good friend Kathy grows it for me. And she gave me, I would say, 90% of that plant you're looking at right now. You do know you don't eat the leaves. They're highly poisonous. But the stalks, you chop them up, wash them off first, chop them up, put them in a pot, a little bit of water, and let them cook. And you have rhubarb squash.
Mostly want to add some sugar, though.
Yeah.
Strawberries, maybe.
Strawberries are great in it. I don't add sugar till I'm ready to serve it. I don't like overly sweet stuff, and besides that, I'm not supposed to have it. So be that as it may. But I had a little bit of it last night with some pretend sugar. Oh, it was as good as eating applesauce. Oh, I loved it. So thank you, Kathy, for the rhubarb.
My pleasure.
Dill. What did we do with our dill?
Oh, it's down there.
Okay. We plant dill. There we go. There's my dill.
Beautiful.
A beautiful dill. That
Yours
also
is way nicer than mine.
It's scrumptious. It is a self-seeder. All of those tops that you see that look so pretty and are kind of a little bit yellowy yet, those will turn brown and they will be your dill seed. You can bring that in and put it in a dry container and then add it to your food as you're cooking through the year. But please leave some for your garden. Just toss it around. It'll grow. It'll come up in the most interesting places. I do a lot of that sowing in my garden. But as well on the stem is this little fern-like leaf. I bring that in and I dry it. I lay it on the counter. It's one of the few things my cat leaves alone. Apparently he doesn't like dill. And I dry it, and then I pack it, and I use it all winter long. Potato salad, fish, chicken. I just can't think of much that I don't want dill in. And don't forget about dill pickles. Oh, that's another thing we were going to talk about was pickles. What we do with the pickles that are all coming in, dill pickles that are coming in right now, there are easy, go online.
Look for refrigerator pickles.
Look for refrigerator pickles. You can make simple, easy refrigerator pickles. A little vinegar, a little salt, a little sugar, and you've got something really good. And they'll last, with vinegar, they'll last for several weeks. Zucchini is coming up in the gardens right now.
So many things you can do with zucchini.
Oh, yeah. That's zucchini right there. You don't want to let that thing get enormous. It gets woody, and it's really not very tasty, I don't think.
Well, when they get that big, you can grate them up, make zucchini bread.
True. Waste not,
if you've
want not.
got way too much zucchini, you can grate it up, put some of it in the freezer. If you have one of those honking big ones, you can slice it this way.
Right.
And make lasagna and use the zucchini for the noodles.
That's true, and that's good. And we made zucchini pancakes last year.
We did.
They weren't bad.
We
They
did
weren't bad.
indeed.
They weren't bad at
There's
all.
all kinds of great jokes about zucchini, you know. People who live in areas where they grow lots of zucchini lock their cars because you might come out of church and find a bucket of zucchini in the back of your car.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well,
I put up zucchini in the way of fresh, cooked, sautéed, and then all the veggies added to that, and quinoa or any other pasta type thing makes a dish for me. I will saute it together and then put it in baggies and freeze it. And in the wintertime, I still have that marvelously good taste of fresh veggies, and I can have that as a side dish, or I happen to be a pasta lover, pour it over my pasta. Makes a good dinner. Makes a very good dinner. I wanted to tell you that zucchini that you saw is from the community garden. The Orion Center has a community garden, and the community garden is available to rent spaces through Friendship Park. You'll have to get in touch with the Friendship Park to do that. We do have some pictures of some yellow squash that's out at the community garden. There it is. There's the yellow squash. Love that stuff. That is a nice, sweet tasting. That's good. I never have too much of that. But that you can, with zucchini and yellow squash, you can get that in the supermarket year round. But because we have a dearth of it right now, I still saute it up and make freezer baggies of it. It's inexpensive. There's also peppers available now.
Peppers aren't quite at their peak.
Those need a little growing to do yet.
Those red peppers that are like $4 a pound in the dead of winter, pretty soon they'll be 50 cents a piece.
Right.
When they come in, they seem to all come in at once. So that's a great time to make stuffed peppers or anything that has a lot of colored peppers in it.
And I have had good luck by buying the peppers when they're really inexpensive, and I chop them up and put them in baggies and freeze them. You know you're not going to have fresh pepper in the wintertime, and they do get a little mushy, but you're going to cook them in something sautéed anyway, and you have all of these fresh peppers.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to use them in a salad.
No. That wouldn't be very good. What else can you talk about?
Well, with the vegetable garden, like your flowers, you're going to want to clean up.
Yeah.
Keep everything tidy. You know, keep the weeds pulled up, because weeds, like our favorite self-sowing flowers, go to seed.
Tell them about your cucumbers twining all around the cucumber vine that's twining.
Well, my cucumbers have kind of gone crazy this year. They escaped. Normally, I start out the season with my containers kind of lined up fairly tight.
Yes.
And as the season goes on, I spread them out so I can walk around and water and pick things. Well, the cucumbers just went crazy, and I've got 4 containers that are all wrapped together because the cucumbers have just wound themselves.
It's a jungle.
It's a jungle. Yeah, they're all tied up. I'm happy to have the cucumbers. One of the things we were going to talk about was flowers on squash and cucumber type of plants.
Okay.
When I was doing Master Gardener Table at the farmer's market a couple of years ago, one of the questions I got asked most often was, I have all kinds of flowers on my cucumbers or my squash. I don't have any fruit.
Yeah.
The cucurbits, which is the family that has squash and cucumbers, melons, all have distinct male and female flowers, and you need the little friends, the bees, for the cross-pollination. The male flowers come out first.
Okay.
And the male flower will never develop into a fruit.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Now I have my acorn squash has been blooming for probably 2 weeks.
Yes, I've
so
seen
far.
Nothing.
Nothing yet, no fruits at all. When you can tell that it's a female flower, it's going to have a little fruit at the base of the flower, whether it'll be a little
under the flower?
Between the base of the flower and the stem.
Oh,
here's
okay.
the stem,
here's
the flower,
because it pushes.
Your little thing right there is where your fruit is.
Okay.
Same with the cucumbers.
Okay.
So if you've got lots of flower, and all those plants tend to really like it hot.
We haven't had hot.
coolish weather recently
Yeah.
is not really conducive to the cucurbits setting a lot of fruit. My cucumbers have lots of cucumbers on them, but they don't seem to be putting out any new ones.
Oh, it's not hot enough.
I think it's probably
Wow.
not hot enough.
Wow.
They're just not setting new fruit. I'm trying something. A number of years ago, Evelyn and I volunteered at Crossroads for Youth vegetable garden. Well, it was a bad year for deer. And a couple of times the deer got in there and just ate everything down. I had a wonderful.
There's nothing like walking into your garden and just decimated. Just so disheartening.
But I had a wonderful crop of beans this year, but they seem to be done. They didn't look like there was any more. And I got to thinking about the year that the deer ate the beans. They came back, and in early September, we had another beautiful crop of beans.
Yeah.
So I've cut my beans all back in hopes that they'll
In hopes-
re-bean.
Well, sure. That's what part of gardening is you try something out and see if it works next year. I transplanted some white salvia, and because I needed white, some brightness in another part of my garden. Well, it kind of wilted, so I cut the blossoms off. I won't do that next year. Yeah, I killed it. I didn't kill it, but I killed all my flowers. It's a trial and error. You see what works this year to what's going to work next year, and you don't cut the top of your white salvia off next year.
And talking about what works and what doesn't, last year we had such a stunning apple year. Just absolutely fabulous. Now, I don't know whether our audience knows this. Agriculture is Michigan's #2 industry.
Right?
And in a couple of recent years, it probably was #1.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Lots of bedding plants, lots and lots of produce. Apples, blueberries are some of our biggest crops.
Love my blueberries.
So many wonderful things that you can do with apples. And I did check with my buddy Joe at Harvest Time Market.
Yes.
And he says he hasn't heard anything negative about the apple crop. So we
Cool.
can look forward to not perhaps the type of crop we had last year.
Put up a lot of applesauce last year.
Lot of applesauce. Actually, I'm getting to the point where some of the heavier work in my yard is a bit much for me, so I trade applesauce for shovel work.
That's a good trade-off.
But-
I want to throw in here, if you're interested, if you have any questions for us, if you would like us to come see your garden, we'd love to come see your garden. Please get in touch with us at Grandma's Garden at ontv.com. We'd love to come out and see what's working in your garden. If you have questions, we will try to find the answers and give you the answers either by email or on the show, whichever works best for what's going on here. Kathy did make pepper gel. No, what did you do with your tomatoes?
Well, I made a pepper and onion relish. I
Pepper
didn't
and
happen
onion
to
relish.
bring that
Yeah.
with me. And Evelyn was talking about in her family the canning, or they
Yes.
always pick the hottest day. You don't have to do that.
No.
Raspberries, the raspberry season was kind of early this year, and when they showed up in the supermarket for $1 a box, I bought enough for 3 batches of jam and threw them in the freezer. One of those cool rainy days last week, I made 24 jars of jam.
Yeah.
So
This is-
some of the things
we don't waste the produce that comes in the summer. It's such a glorious season. We want to just stretch it out and have that wonderful taste. There is nothing, I guarantee you, for me, there is nothing that my mouth enjoys more than my canned tomatoes in January or February. That wonderful fresh tomato taste that you just can't get from even the vine tomatoes that you get at the grocery store.
And if you don't want to bother canning the tomatoes,
Oh yeah, we
you
can
can
go
freeze them.
on and on about. You can freeze them, you can dry them, you can immerse them, blend
make kind of a sauce with it.
and freeze it. There's just so. We'll get into that in another
We
program.
continue to learn new tricks. Old dogs do learn new tricks. Last year, my neighbor told me that you can blend up with the immersion blender
Right.
and not have to peel the tomatoes.
We are going to be done for this program. Sorry. We, as you can obviously tell, we have a lot we can talk about our gardens. We love doing our gardens. and we would love to share with you what we know and what we can do, and we're looking forward to hearing from you too. We'll see you next time.